Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC 263, Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. And Shaq, this is the rematch. It's going down this Saturday night in Glendale, Arizona, the original spot that they fought at the first time, same arena. The only difference is it's for a belt. It's 5 rounds now, and someone's going to walk away the middleweight champion.
Yeah, man, I've been excited for this rematch because I kind of could see this coming in a while. Just the way, I mean, Israel, we know he was going to be at the top of the division for a while, but on the other side, Marvin Vettori, since he came back from his suspension, I mean, I don't even think he's lost a round. So I'm very excited for this fight. You got 2 guys in there. You know, they both been talking. They both, are not fans of one another. You've been seeing Adesanya making the Lord of the Ring references when it comes to Marvin Vettori, and Marvin, man, I like Marvin because he brings the intensity. There isn't going to be any friend business or any shaking hands and hugging when you're fighting Marvin Vettori. It's going to be a real fight. It's not going to be any excuses about drinking wine the night of the day before the fight and all this other shit. So I'm super excited for this fight.
And speaking of drinking wine, my boy Paulo Costa went off the deep end. Like, holy shit. Like, you put on a performance like that, then you ask for more money, like pulling out of main events. Like,
when he asked for more money, I was like, Paulo, did you see your last fight? Like, I don't think you got to get a knockout to get more money, bro, or at least a win or even a better performance. Like, bro, you're not getting no new contract after that, bro. Like,
so the guy puts on that performance, and then he comes out and says all the shit he said about drinking wine, this and that, and then he says he wants $350K just to show up. Like, Paulo,
yeah, I'm like, bro, what?
all that Brazilian wine is seriously messing with his realm on reality, because that's unlike anything I've ever seen.
It's honestly really sad because during the fight, like Dana even said it, because I was kind of, with my friends that I was watching, everyone was asking like, what the hell is he doing? And Dana said that's exactly what everyone in Abu Dhabi was saying that night during the fight. Everyone was looking at each other like, what the hell is he doing? And then like now he's expecting to get 350 grand. Like, yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, buddy. Man, it's sad because he was such a promising contender. But anyways, this show is not about Paulo Costa. This show is about Izzy and Marvin. Cannot wait for that rematch. And then also another rematch in the co-main event. We got the champ, the best flyweight on planet Earth, Deiveson Figueiredo, the man, along with Henry Cejudo, who saved the flyweight division. He's defending his belt once again versus Brandon Moreno. People saying that Daveson's first round or bust. Oh, really? So why'd he win the 5th round last time? I thought that draw was complete bullshit. Even with the point deduction, I scored that fight for Deiveson. But guess what? They get to run it back again. And I have a feeling, Shaq, there's not going to be any controversy Saturday night.
Yeah, Moreno is as tough as it gets. Deiveson is as tough as it gets. That fight that they had was one of the most, maybe the most entertaining flyweight fight of all time right there, especially title fight-wise. Deiveson Figueiredo, I mean, there isn't really much that needs to be said. This guy is entertainment, unlike some of our past flyweight champions, not including Henry Cejudo. I think just now, especially Moreno too. I mean, Moreno is very experienced. He's very seasoned. I mean, he's paid his dues. I mean, he did not even get dropped, like floored, not even one time after with all the shots he took in that fight. And not to mention the shots that Deiveson took as well. And, some of the factors that we know he had to cut, Deiveson, those weight cuts to 125, ain't no joke. They're brutal, and he had to do it 2 times in a span of a month. So, I'm glad, his body is rested for this one, and he gets to see him at full strength against the assassin, baby. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Brandon truly thinks he's going to dethrone Deiveson, so I cannot wait to see it. I think it's going to be a great fight. And then last but not least, in the featured bout, we got the return of Nate Diaz taking on Leon Edwards. And this fight, people say this fight makes no sense. It makes all the sense to me. I'll tell you why. Leon Edwards is like on an 8-fight unbeaten streak, maybe even 9-fight if you include the Bilal fight. And basically this guy deserves a title shot, but no one knows who the hell he is. You beat Nate Diaz, who's one of the biggest names in the sport, and everybody's going to know who you are. And then we can sell that pay-per-view with Leon getting a title shot. So I think the UFC know exactly what they're doing with this fight. And if Nate gets the upset, all of a sudden he's right back in the mix.
Well, I don't think they don't know who he is. I think they know who he is. They refer to him as the guy that, Masvidal took off on, backstage. They might not know his name, but when they see his face, they'll definitely know him. And yeah, man, I'm excited for that fight because Diaz, one of the biggest names in the sport. And I mean, he has a history of pulling off big upsets, man. I mean, he's done it before. Leon Edwards, he's been doing this thing. One of the top guys on 170. I still feel like he needs that signature win. Yeah, I guess Diaz could be it just because of the name value. But I need to, man. Edwards is. I'm really interested to see how he fights this weekend because his last fight, he definitely won the first round, but we still needed to see 4 more rounds, and we really haven't seen him, go 5 rounds in a very long time. So we'll see how he performs this weekend. But for his standpoint, man, I don't think it could be like a decision. It has to be an ass whooping because Diaz, look, nice guy and all, but he has no business on the upper echelon of 170, and that's just the honest truth about it. And if Leon Edwards is struggling with a guy like that, then we're gonna really know where he stands.
Yeah, this fight will let us know a lot, and it's a huge opportunity for both fighters. So we're going to break down this whole card start to finish. But first, we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. Thank you very much, Manscaped. So guys, Father's Day is coming up, and the weather is catching heat. So whether you have a dad bod or you're rocking a 6-pack, make sure you and your dad are smelling nice and shaved where it matters most. Make your dad proud this year and get him and yourself the Lawnmower 4.0, which I got in my hand right here. This thing is really badass. And get him the Refined Cologne by Manscaped. This cologne smells absolutely fresh. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And the brand new Lawnmower 4.0 and the Refined Cologne is perfect for you and the dad in your life to complete your grooming game. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. And you guys already know the deal. You can't be leaving the house not smelling fresh, especially in this day and age. Quarantine's over. No more excuses. Plus, you got to be well-groomed, too. That's where the 4.0 comes in, and that's where this badass cologne comes in. This 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. Do you or your dad travel a lot? If so, then the 4.0 is the perfect trimmer for home and on the go. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on-off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. So power outage, no excuse. And it's waterproof too, so you can shave your balls in the dark, in the shower, in the pool, anywhere your heart desires. You're out at the lake, no excuses, right? So the Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 to 4. The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Fellas, it's time to pull the plug on wired trimmers and your wild bush. After you guys have clean balls, clean up your cologne game with the Refined Cologne from Manscaped. This thing right here, like I told you, never walk out the house not smelling fresh, guys. With the same signature scent that's in all Manscaped formulas, this cologne is a perfect complement to the collection. Light, approachable, gentlemanly in all the right ways. If the old man is smelling a little funky, this cologne is a surefire way to change that up and make him the talk of the summer. Man of the house deserves to smell like a king. Whether it's a gift for you, your dad, or the men in your life, choose Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use code BATTLE20. Don't forget that you came from your dad's balls this year. Show your original home some love with Manscaped, Shaq.
Yeah, Manscaped is number 1 in the game, and I don't even know who the competition is. I just know they ain't fucking with Manscaped. You know what I'm saying? So I actually just went on Manscaped and got some stuff. So I use my code battle20. So I hope everyone else does too. You got to get that crop preserver, man. It works wonders, man. And You'll never have to worry about, getting ready for your girl or a short notice opportunity, whatever it is. So, go ahead and get that crop preserver from Manscaped.
I'm just gonna say they ain't never kicked Shaq out of VIP of the club ever before. So just
uh,
just know he always shows up ready to go. Well, Shaq, let's break down this whole card start to finish, because first up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Carlos Boy Felipe. He's 10-1. He's taking on Jay Collier, who's 12-5. Currently, they got Carlos Felipe minus 170. The comeback on Jay Collier's plus 150. It opened minus 200 for Felipe. So the action's been coming in here on Jay Collier. I mean, look, he beat John Vellante and everyone's losing their mind. And I understand Felipe had a close fight with Tafa, so maybe people are kind of down on him. But are we really in a spot to be, counting on Jay Collier to be winning fights against, non-John Vellantes here, Shaq?
Yeah, I think you were kind of hinting at it there. I think they're just seeing this one wrong. Jay Collier, look, he beat John Vellante. Oh my God. Like, okay, Maurice Green beat John Vellante too. Like, John Vellante is a 205er that, like, bro, John Vellante is a 205er that, got a little, I know he had a baby, and I guess he started, his girl had a baby, and I guess he started eating with her. The dude's bloating. I mean, look at his fight with Maurice Green. There really isn't much to be said. He's got no volume. He's got nothing to back Jay Collier off. He's got 205 power trying to fight heavyweights. And I know Collier's a former middleweight and 205er and all that stuff. But I mean, Collier was out for like a good 3 to 4 years. So he like really ballooned on. And I just think he's tougher than John Vellante. But now we're talking about Carlos Boy Felipe. Just look at his 3 UFC fights. We're talking about Spivak in his debut, which was 1-1 going into the third round. Y'all know how I feel about Spivak. I think I don't know if he's in the top 15 currently, but I definitely think he will be at some point. And he got dominated in that third round, but I thought it was a very good fight from a guy that, when you look at his previous opponents in Brazil, you know how that Brazilian regional scene can be sometimes. I mean, he had fought all bums. So that was a big jump up, and I thought he performed well. Then we turned that into the De Castro fight. I mean, he moves forward. And the thing I like about Carlos Felipe is his durability, and for such a big guy, his boxing volume. I mean, this guy doesn't, ever stop. He doesn't really need to rest that much. I'd say his weakness is probably the clinch or on the ground. But Jay Collier, man, I mean, John Vellante still bloodied up his face. Like, Jay Collier's face was a complete mess that fight. And I just think John Vellante isn't the toughest guy in the world these days. I know Carlos Felipe is a lot tougher. I think he honestly can match the volume, or if not, throw more. But really where I see him capitalizing is just being meaner, just being younger. Like, people are down on him for the Tafa fight. Like, it's about matchups. Tafa's a lefty. Jay Collier isn't. Firstly, Tafa, just because he's 1-2, like, this is the thing in this game, man. He's 1-2 now, and because he's young, he's only got like less than 10 fights. But I kind of the Vandera fight. I mean, Vandera, like, he's a big ass dude, man. So that really didn't surprise me all that much. But anyways, back to Felipe, man. I just think he has a big power edge in this fight, and I think that he's gonna get better fight to fight, man. After a fight, was it fight of the night, or it was a great fight? I'm not sure if it was fight of the night, but after a fight like that, man, I feel like he can only go up, and I think he will knock Jay Collier out somewhere. I'm gonna say in the first round, man. I think he should be a 2-1 favorite. I mean, a win over John. This fight kind of reminds me of like when Cub Swanson knocked out Daniel Pineda, and like all of a sudden, he's back and stuff like that. To sit here and say that Jay Collier is back and is about to rack consecutive wins, and I just don't see it happening, man. I'm going with Carlos Boy Felipe by vicious knockout.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jay Collier is not back at all. He comes in against Aspinall 265 pounds. And for those that don't know, Jay Collier is a former middleweight. So, quarantine's been rough for a lot of us, Jay Collier included. But he comes back against Vellante. weighs 265 pounds again. And just because fat off the couch Jay Collier whooped on John Vellante, I mean, if you're in the UFC and you haven't figured out how to beat John Vellante yet, then there's a serious issue. And I think here, and we're gonna get back to reality. Look, Carlos Felipe, I enjoy watching his fights, man. He's got good hands, he's tough, he's aggressive, he's hard to take down. And I understand that there's this volume thing with Collier, but again, he was against a walking punching bag named John Vellante, who was 6 months pregnant at the time. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think it's going to be a lot tougher to get off on that kind of output against a guy like Carlos Felipe. And I think Felipe's hands are cleaner. I think he's the more durable guy. I think he's younger. I think he's hungrier. And I think Saturday night, Carlos Felipe is going to get another win inside the octagon. So that's my pick. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Fares Ziam. He's 11-3. He's taking on Luigi Vendramini, who's 9-1. Currently, they got Fares Ziam minus 135. The comeback on Luigi Vendramini's plus 115. So this one's a little harder for me to cap, man, just because I feel like both guys are super young, super green, and we can be seeing big improvements every time. We might see a different version every time. So I'm not really sure what to expect. Here's what I do know. Fares Ziam, a long guy. He's tough as nails. He can get back up from takedowns, and he's got decent volume. And with Luigi Vendramini, I mean, from going from fighting no one on his regional scene to all of a sudden you're in there with Elizeu Zaleski, and not only are you there with Zaleski, you take his back. That was very he got my attention right away by taking Elizeu's back. Parlays that by absolutely destroying a guy that went the distance with Darren Till. I was pretty impressed with him, man. Fares Ziam, a lot of people thought he lost his last fight, but you know the famous Joe Silva quote: "You can't win a fight by putting your head between a man's legs." And I mean, Fares Ziam doubled up Jamie Malarkey on strikes and got back up from all the takedowns. So, yeah, and this is going to be an interesting fight. So I'm not really sure. I think it could go either way. I need to see more from both guys before I'm fully familiar with them, because again, they're still growing, they're young. But from what I've seen so far, I've been a little bit more impressed with Luigi Vendramini, and he's the dog here in a fight that I think maybe should be a pick 'em. So I'll go with Luigi.
Yeah, I agree. I thought ZM won that fight against Malarkey the first 2 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's a K1 guy, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I know he's been doing some training in Las Vegas, so he left France, where he's from, and I mean, yeah, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, as well as Vendramini. Man, Vendramini put it on Yasinayari. That was a vicious knockout. He seems very aggressive. My curiosity here with him is what happens if the fight is extended. It seems like he comes out very strong, looking for the knockout or the back takes and the jiu-jitsu. I think that maybe he could get an early knockout here. Ziam kind of does leave his chin up in the air, but I have a feeling that if this fight gets extended, that the technique and just the length, the range of ZM is probably gonna kind of make him get the better of the last 2 rounds. So I'm gonna actually go with Fares Ziam to get, what's his nickname, the Smile Killer. Super young dude. How old are both these guys? Like under 25, right? Both of them.
Yeah. Ziam is 24, and Vendramini is 25.
Man, they got a lot of young lightweights in that. They got my boy Puelles, who's on a 3-fight win streak. They got these 2 kids, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Ziam, but I'm gonna say by like a close split decision type victory.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a match between Steven Ocho Peterson. He's 18-9. He's taking on Chase Hooper, who's 10-1-1. Currently, they got Steven Peterson minus 120. The comeback on Chase Hooper is plus 100. So at least we're past the days of Chase Hooper being this massively chalked favorite and stuff like that. The times are catching up. And the biggest thing we criticize Chase Hooper for is, he's a bit of a punching bag. The only thing is his opponent here, Ocho Peterson. That's what we kind of criticize him for too. But here's what I'll say about Ocho Peterson. Obviously, he's got more than twice the experience. Never been submitted in close to 30 pro fights. Been in there with some guys. This might actually be the spot where he doesn't have to worry about getting tagged up over and over like he does every single fight. Or if Chase Hooper, who's just a kid, 21, 22 years old, maybe he's made some improvements. He's a long guy. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage. Maybe he can come out here and emulate a game plan that's been shown for years on how to beat a guy like Ocho Peterson. But based off where they are currently in their careers, I think this might be an opportunity for Peterson to come out here and kind of bully Chase Hooper a little bit. But you can't. I personally can't trust Peterson that much, especially laying minus money. But I do think he's got some advantages. Hooper seems like he might need a little more seasoning on the regional scene. He's a very tough kid, don't get me wrong, and he's got decent submission ability, but that's about the extent of it. Like Dana White said, you can't just get your ass beat every fight and then pull a submission out your hat like that. That's just not going to work at the highest level. Maybe it works here, but I'm going to say Steven Peterson puts a pace on him and wins a decision.
Well, he's definitely wrong about that. Just look at my boy Paul Craig. I mean, sure. But yeah, I think, man, this is a tough one for me because, I agree with a lot of things you said. Man, when you watch tape on Chase, some of it's just understandable. I mean, the kid, he needs time. Let's just be honest. He was not ready for the UFC. And he's still in here. But I will say the fact that kid has managed to go 2-1 with the skills, especially the striking that he has, man, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a very tough kid, and I think things will materialize for him at some point if he just keeps putting the work in. And one thing I'll say about Peterson, man. At first, coming into this fight, I was thinking Peterson was probably going to whip his ass. But then when I watched the tape on him, man, I was very, very, very underwhelmed, man. I like Steven Peterson. If you say Chase Hooper's a punching bag, Steven Peterson, bro, is, I honestly think Chase Hooper, even with his bad striking, has a path to victory on the feet here by range, keeping Peterson at bay with the kicks. I know he's been training with Wonderboy Thompson and his dad, so I am expecting to see, maybe a better version of Chase on the feet. On the ground, Peterson does have a lot of submissions. So that is probably going to be a little bit tougher for him to do, but that length on the ground, man, creates problems as well. I don't necessarily see Peterson slicing through his guard and mounting him and on his back or anything like that. I just don't see that happening. I think Peterson's the type of guy that you do not trust at minus money. I think that his skill set is very limited. He takes a lot of damage in his fights. He's under 500 in the UFC. Granted, it is against some tough competition, 100%, and he's seeing things in this game that Chase, but man, Chase, the fact that he won all 3 rounds against Caceres, because I thought there was a couple of shots where he could have really packed it in, but he kept going, man. And in his last fight against Peter Barrett, I still think he's just figuring things out, man. Just more ring time. We'll see. Maybe maybe Peterson's just still a little bit too much, but I'm gonna actually go with Hooper on this one, man. I think he just lands the more effective strikes at range by just kind of kicking Peterson. Peterson, man, his face is a mess every single fight. I'm not saying that Chase isn't, but I feel like we might see a better version of Chase on Saturday night. So we'll see. But I'm gonna take him for the win here.
You are right that the blueprint's been laid out, so no one can be surprised, and you can't be overconfident in a guy like Steven Peterson at chalk. So I completely agree with you. So let's see what happens. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Matt Frevola. He's 8-2-1. He's welcoming Terrence McKinney, who's 10-3 to the UFC. Currently, they got Matt Frevola minus 300. The comeback on Terrence McKinney's plus 240. So I think this is a tougher matchup for Frevola than his original opponent, Frank Camacho. I thought he was gonna, no pun intended, steamroll Frank Camacho, but here I think he's in for a real fight. This kid, Terrence McKinney, is no slouch at all. And, he's the guy that got knocked out by Woodson with that flying knee on Contenders, except he was dominating Woodson the entire fight. Goes back to the regional scene. I know he fought Minner. He got choked out in under a minute. Look, Minner's got like 20 submissions in under a minute. No shame in that. But since that point, the kid's not just been on a win streak. He's been on a kill streak, Shaq. He's been destroying people. Head kick knockouts, ground and pound knockouts. It was almost like it's undeniable that he was going to get his call. So, yeah, he's fought at 45s, he's fought at 55s, and I understand he might have some experience in the Alaskan scene, so there might be, some hesitation. But I think this is one of those few exceptions where this kid is actually pretty damn good and deserves to be here. Strong offensive wrestler, decent volume on the feet. It's just the UFC experience that gives me pause, because Frivola is a guy that he's extremely tough, and Frivola is the kind of guy, he'll eat a clean head kick by Lando Venata, get dropped by another shot, and then come back and make the fight a draw, right? Like, this guy is a dog. This guy will eat everything you have, and if he's still conscious, man, he's going to put a pace on you. And I even remember in that fight against Arman Sarukian, I mean, despite the result, he wobbled Arman one time in that fight. So I got a lot of respect for Frivola. Again, I think this is going to be a tougher fight than the Camacho fight. I thought he was just going to run through Camacho, but here I'm gonna say Frivola edges a close one. But if someone's taking the shot on Terrence, I mean, I can understand. I think he's legit. I think he deserves to be here for sure. I'm excited to see what Terrence does, but just based off experience, I'll go with Frivola here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think McKinney's got a bright future ahead of him, but I don't think Saturday is going to be his night. He's coming here on short notice. I know he just fought, but look, Frivola's been in there with some tough customers, and I think his performances are actually getting better. He just fought Arman Sarukian, who is, some people think is a future champion, and he went 3 rounds, respectable performance on 1 day notice. It wasn't like he had a full camp for that fight or anything like that. So it just shows you the balls that this guy has. His fight with Lando Venata, super experienced. And I mean, Frivola's heart, man. I mean, he just has a lot of heart. I think he's making better decisions striking wise. I mean, what about those wins over these 6'2", 6'3" guys? He's fought specimens before, man. I know McKinney's a big, strong kid, but Frivola's seen Jalen Turner. I mean, he's felt what that's like, a 6'3" guy who can knock you out at any time. He's felt Luis Pena. He's felt all these guys, man. So I think McKinney, when you look at his record, it's pretty clear that, I mean, his only chance to win in this fight has to be by a knockout in the first couple minutes. It seems like anytime he gets out the first round is when he starts struggling. So if Frivola just avoids this death shot from McKinney, he's a strong, athletic kid, man. He just needs to not get knocked out in the first round, and I think it'll be smooth sailing for Frivola after that. I'm assuming McKinney's gonna come out here really hard, excited for his debut, and if he doesn't get the knockout, I expect a big adrenaline dump and a gas out, and soon, after that. So I'm gonna go with Matt Frivola here.
And next up in the bantamweight division, we got a matchup between Pannie Kianzad, who's 14-5, taking on Alexis Davis, who's 20-10. Currently, they got Pannie Kianzad minus 190. The comeback on Alexis Davis is plus 165. So I know a lot of people are taking Alexis here because of what happened last time she fought a bit of a prospect in Mazo. But I think there's a completely different matchup, man. I think that Pannie Kianzad has actually been paying her dues, and honestly, man, she's got some skills too. I think that now she's starting to get a little comfortable inside the octagon. We're starting to see a little bit of that. The volume's truly been on point these last 3 fights. Her takedown defense is getting better. She's got good size for the weight class. Alexis Davis will always be a vet and will always have my respect. I mean, Alexis Davis, we're talking about someone, if I told you right now and I had to ask you yes or no, that Alexis Davis and Amanda Nunes got into a fight one time and Alexis Davis won via TKO, would you believe me? Well, the answer is yes, because they did get into a fight one time, and Alexis Davis did win via TKO. Now, granted, this was over a decade ago.
Kat Zingano knocked Amanda out too.
Viciously, right? So, hey, Alexis Davis TKO'd Amanda Nunes. So, no, but listen, man, I think that right now we're at a point where the way Alexis Davis is winning these fights is she's able to take these young girls down to the ground, hold them down, and from there, they're not able to get back up. And I'm not exactly sure if what happened to Mazo is going to happen to Pannie here. I think that Pannie actually legitimately has been making bigger strides, and I think that she's ready to not necessarily contend, but at least, hang around in the top 15 right now. So I'm going to go with Pannie Kianzad to keep it standing and just out volume Alexis Davis, who does mark up easy. And I think not necessarily that's going to be target practice, but I think there's going to be a clear winner when it goes to the judges' scorecards here. Yeah,
man, and I agree. I've actually been a little higher on Kianzad than most, just because there was a fight she had against Rose Clark where I was impressed. I mean, going into it, I thought it was going to be a close fight, but it turned out to be a one-sided ass whooping. And Kianzad. Man, her boxing is up there with anybody's in that division. division. She's very experienced. She's been around the block for a very long time. Davis, the Mazo fight, man. Look, Mazo. When you look back at her Keys fight, she got taken down there, and I just think Mazo's not mean enough, not aggressive enough, sits back too much, holds back too much, a slow starter. As where Kianzad is just a little bit more sure of herself, in my opinion. Better boxing. Stronger in my opinion. And then you look at her last fight, she went up against a black belt against fucking Sajara. Yeah, my bad. Against Sajara. And I mean, the first round she definitely got taken down and held down for pretty much the whole round. So I mean, look, if you're on Davis, I get what you're trying to do. You're hoping that you could get the takedown and stay on top of her too. But I mean, her performance down the stretch, man, she really, put in some work, stuffing in those takedowns, and I mean, she got the win, man. Her boxing, we know she has the edge in that realm. She actually got like a lot of good training partners, man. She trains with like my boy, what's his name? Kudaladze, that dude that beat Gamrot. And she trains with like Demir Hadzovic, Dalby. Like she's got a good team around her down there. I forget what the team's called, but she's got a lot of good training partners, man. And I think that this is kind of, I don't want to say a lesser version of her last fight, but around similar, man. Just another black belt that's going to be looking to take you down. You just passed that test. I think she's passed this one as well, man. I think Alexis Davis's face is going to look a mess on Saturday night.
Now, next up in the featherweight division, we got a prospect showdown between Hakeem Dawodu. He's 12-1-1. He's taking on Movsar Evloev, who's 14-0. Currently, they got Movsar Evloev -230. The comeback on Hakeem Dawodu is +190. Man, this is a tough one because, we've called Movsar Evloev Little Khabib. But listen, Hakeem Dawodu is no slouch, and he's coming into his own. He's on a big win streak. He's finally figuring it out. Should this fight be lined closer, or is this a case where Movsar Evloev truly is that potential future champion that people are talking about? Because you see a number like that on Hakeem Dawodu, it definitely got my attention, Shaq.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a good fight. It's a tough fight. It could be lined closer. I think when when the bookies line the Russians, I think they just look at it like win or lose. I don't think they really care about like if it's a tough fight, an easy fight. I just think, that's the reason I say that is because his last fight he was like -700. The fight before that, he was a favorite too. So, yeah, I like Dawodu. I like both of these guys. I mean, I'm pretty sure me and you, I told at least, we saw Movsar's fights pre-UFC, and I think we both came to a consensus that this kid is definitely going to be in the top 15 at some point. And Dawodu, kind of similar, maybe not. I've been a fan of Dawodu since the World Series days, and Dawodu has actually a good history against the Russians. I mean, he beat one in World Series of Fighting. He beat Tukugov. So, I mean, he is undefeated against Russians. But, man, this is a tough fight. It's tough because Movsar, I think Dawodu could have some openings in the stand-up against Movsar Evloev. I think Evloev's got a good pace, very consistent pace, but I think that I don't know how to even describe it. I feel like it's almost like he's not challenged enough, or like the kid just plays with fire occasionally with these chokes, but I'm not really expecting. I don't really care about that, for this fight, because I highly doubt Hakeem Dawodu is going to be, attempting any guillotines like Nick Lentz and Darce chokes like Mike Grundy. It's just a couple things that worry me. What happens if Hakeem lands a couple calf kicks? What happens if, Movsar can't get him down as easily as he's used to? But, man, Hakeem Dawodu is very underrated. He's very technical. I don't know if this line against him is a smart idea, just playing, Movsar. I'm not saying that Movsar is not going to win, because I do think Movsar is going to scrape this out. I just think that he works at a much higher rate. Maybe takes a little more chances, maybe slightly a little more sloppier, but I just think it's very hard to outwork him. And, when you look at some of those clinch grappling exchanges in the Tukugov fight, where Hakeem did get taken down. He did stuff in the third round because I think Tukugov missed weight by a lot, and Tukugov, he ain't the toughest guy in the world, but I think I think that, man, some of those grappling exchanges. I mean, I know Masvar and his team are watching that like, oh my god, we're gonna we're gonna embarrass him. So man, I'm gonna take Masvar for the win here, but I do think Hakeem could land some calf kicks that maybe make this fight a lot closer than the line indicates, or maybe Masvar he kind of does slow down a little bit, but man, the kid just does not stop working. He does not take any rest, and I do see Hakeem taking a little bit of rest in these fights. I think he's come a long way. But it's like one of those things where I know I'm not fading Majvar Evloev, and I know I don't know if what's the line, like minus 250, 240, something like that. Like yeah, I don't know if that's a smart decision to do against Hakeem. So we'll see. But I'm gonna go with Majvar by decision. Outworking him, getting the better of the clinch grappling exchanges. Taking a couple shots here and there, but just doing his thing, outworking Hakeem.
Look, it's good to see Hakeem Dawodu finally starting to get comfortable inside the octagon, because I remember he had a ton of hype in the World Series of Fighting, and there were a lot of holes in his game, but you could always see the potential and the talent. I feel like he started to patch some of those things up. He's also super tough. Both these guys ain't going to tap out. Both these guys are willing to go to sleep. I mean, as evidence in Hakeem's debut and as evidence in Movsar Evloev's fight against Mike Grundy. I mean, that was a deep-ass Darshoke he was in against Mike Grundy, and he could have went to sleep. He could have tapped out. No one would have held it against him. He found the littlest of openings, pushed off the hips, got out, and then he goes on to dominate the fight. So those kind of qualities are very impressive. That's like what a champion does. I'm not saying that Movsar is going to be a future champ, but I'm just saying that's a championship quality to escape a deep-ass submission like that and then go on to dominate the fight. I think his stand-up's been getting a lot better too. Obviously, you don't want to have a kickboxing match with Hakeem Dawodu. I'd have to favor Dawodu there for sure. I guess the biggest question is, how's Dawodu's, get up game? How's his takedown defense? I know he's been taken out, a couple times here and there in the UFC. He's gotten back up every time, but this is a different level of wrestler. So this is the fight that's really going to let us know exactly where he's at. I understand taking the shot. You see a number like that on Dawodu, plus 190, plus 200. I completely understand, but I also agree with you that it's just kind of tough to have money against someone like Evloev. So I'd personally pass and enjoy seeing these two prospects, prove themselves and see who the better man is, because the better man is about to move into the top 15 guaranteed. So yeah, this is that fight that's going to let you know exactly where these two stand. I cannot wait. I'll say Movsar also edges it out. Now, next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Lauren Murphy. She's 14-4. She's taking on Joanne Calderwood, who's 15-5. Currently, they got Joanne Calderwood minus 140. The comeback in Lauren Murphy is plus 120. So this is another tough fight for me to call. The reason why is because I think that Joanne Calderwood, talent-wise and skill-wise, is probably the better fighter here. It's just that she's not, it's kind of hit or miss. She's kind of a hot and cold fighter. Sometimes she looks like a world beater. Other times she's got some very head-scratching performances, whether it's the Maya fight, whether it's the Moroz fight. Just a lot of times, if she's getting into a fight with her boyfriend the day of the fight, then Joanne ain't going to show up, whereas Lauren Murphy, she might not be the most athletically gifted, but Lauren Murphy is someone that has truly paid her dues. I mean, I don't know if y'all remember the kind of regard we used to hold Lauren Murphy in back in the day when she was like 1-3 in the UFC, when she had that horrendous attitude on The Ultimate Fighter. But now it's all like positivity, and now she's a top 5 ranked fighter, which is something I thought I'd never say. Like, now she's getting all these massive upsets, and she wills herself to victory. So she's truly become, she went from someone that like we'd like make fun of to someone that like I got nothing but respect for, man. So all respect to Lauren Murphy. So this is a fight again where it plays out 10 times. I see different outcomes every single time, because Joanne Calderwood, she shows up to the best of her abilities, and I do think that she's a step ahead of Lauren Murphy. But again, sometimes Joanne ain't pulling that trigger. Sometimes Joanne will give up easy takedowns. Sometimes Joanne, you put your arm around that neck and it's a Rumble Johnson, Melvin Guillard quick tap. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure what to think, but I'll go with Lauren Murphy, because one thing I know about her, I know she's showing up. No matter what, I know she is going to show up. So I'm going to go Lauren Murphy for the upset.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this fight, man, because we know One of these girls is soon gonna be put on that plate for Valentina at some point. So I wouldn't even want to win this fight. It's like, shit, I gotta fight Valentina after this.
Like win
But
this
no,
fight and then get a big injury,
and then get absolutely wrecked. So yeah, this is a man, because I agree, man. Lauren Murphy was somebody a few years back. I thought honestly it was just a complete mess. And it seems like since she moved to with Derek Lewis's coach and in Texas there, it seems like girls out here getting knocked out, wobbled, slammed on their head, finished. Andrea Lee's mouthpiece was flying all across the cage. So Lauren Murphy, look, yeah, Calderwood technically speaking has her beat covered. Probably throws more. She's got different variety of attacks. Definitely a lot more cleaner. Lauren Murphy definitely, it ain't pretty. Lauren Murphy is one of the few junkyard dogs in those female divisions. Shorty's rough. She's tough. She like on tape when you watch her, you'll be like she's slow, she's stiff, but when you get in there, it's a different story. That dude in the NFC that what's his name? The older guy with the beard, white guy.
Mike Wilson.
Yeah, Mike Wilson.
He just won a fight against undefeated young kid the other day.
Bro, dudes grinded like several people, you know what I'm saying? Dudes that you thought were gonna knock him out or embarrass him. And that's why I feel like Lauren Murphy is kind of like she's. Look, I agree, man. Her interview, bro, is reeking of positivity, and I've been feeling that way for a long time. I actually bet on her against the last girl. I forget her name. From Russia or somewhere.
Shakarova.
Yeah, Shakarova. And a lot of people were saying Shakarova's a live dog. Lauren Murphy should never be favorited that high, and we saw how that turned out. Man, Lauren Murphy is doing her thing. Now, Calderwood, we know, is the more talented striker, but yeah, we know her at chalk, historically speaking. She did win her last fight against Eye. She looked good. She looked pretty good in that fight. Jessica Eye was a little bit over aggressive in my opinion. Looked very sloppy, but the fact that she beat her, very convincingly, and Eye has wins over Chukagi and Arujo. So that was a solid win for her. It's a tough fight. I just view it as a 50-50 fight pretty much, man. I think that if it's 1-1 in the third round, I think that, Lauren Murphy is the side you want to be on, because I do feel like she is a little bit tougher. I do feel like she is willing to maybe take more chances. I do see some holes in that wrestling game of Joanne Calderwood that Lauren could possibly capitalize on. We have been seeing her hit the takedowns in these last few fights, like against Andrea and Roxanne and the last girl that she fought. So yeah, man, I think it's gonna be a tough fight. Both girls gonna be bloody, and I'm gonna say Lauren Murphy ekes out a split decision win, and then probably gets knocked out by Valentina coming up here. But I think it's a good fight, man. Because I agree with everything you said about Murphy and Calderwood, man. It's like the Jennifer Maia fight, like that's the thing with her, man. Like 1 minute, like the Jessica Eye fight, like she shows a great, rounded skill set. But then like the Jennifer Maia fight, it's like, okay. Like Jennifer Maia just absolutely mollywopped her. Like, okay. Hey, she, the Morose fight, I know you remember, well, the Andrade fight, we'll excuse her from that, but I know you remember that Calvillo fight or, some of her other ones, but
in Scotland.
In Scotland, So yeah, I'm gonna go with Murphy by split, but it's a close fight. Could go either way.
Now, next up in the light heavyweight division, we got a rematch between Eric Anders. He's 13-5. He's taking on the dentist.
It's light heavy or middleweight?
Light heavyweight. They're moving up for this one. And Darren Stewart, he's 12-6. Currently, they got Eric Anders -150. The comeback on Darren Stewart is +130. So these guys are running it back, except they're running it back up a weight class. First time they fought, Eric Anders knocked out Darren Stewart in the first round, but unfortunately landed an illegal knee, so it was called a no contest. But Eric was putting it on Darren Stewart.
Can I let me go first in this one, dude? Herb Dean is something else, man. That first fight, man. I actually had I bet on Anderson. I mean, Daniel, what do we have to do to get a fight stopped, man, with Herb? I mean, it's like, do we have to kill him or like, you know? But yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a man, but the fact that it's at 205 kind of makes me even more confident in Eric now. I don't feel like Darren Stewart is. I mean, I know he fought at 205 when he first came in, but I mean, you saw how that went for him. And I'm surprised he did that because Eric's the bigger guy in my opinion. So, but yeah, as far as how they match up, man, I think that Eric has many paths to win. I mean, as we can see, we know he has the power to hurt Darren Stewart now, and he's the much bigger guy. But I think the key to this fight for him is pushing Darren Stewart up against that fence, man. I think that Darren Stewart doesn't like, clinch, grappling, heavy style type of fights. I think it frustrates him. And I feel like Darren Stewart is one of these guys. Well, he's a dog now, so I can't even say that. But, for a lot of times, I always feel like he's just a tad bit overrated. But look, the fact that these guys just fought, I think that Anders has the mental edge coming into this one. I like that he left Alabama. He's with my boys Santino and Eddie Cha now. So, he's got the right team behind him. So I'm expecting it's not even improvements. It's just putting that switch on. Like, let the hands go, bro, and stop trying to kick and like throw these little, bantamweight attacks, be a big bully and be mean, and I think, that last fight was a great sign of that. So I got to go with Eric for the win here. Darren Stewart is a tough guy, and I hate how the price is completely flipped, but at the same time, man, that fight was looking like, was very one-sided, man. And another thing I wanted to say is I'm not saying that, Eric should be lucky that was a no contest and not a DQ and all that stuff. But I also feel like Herb, I don't want to say tricked him into throwing that knee, but I just felt like Herb should have, like, right before he threw the knee, like Herb's like, on his knee looking at him and saying, don't knee him. And I think that Eric, hey, it's his fault anyways, but I think he got kind of baited into that. But, it is what it is. They get to run it back. So I'm going to go with Eric Anders by decision this time.
Yeah, look, Fight Ready changes lives. That's where Eric Anders did this last camp for the first Darren Stewart fight. You look at a guy like Henry Cejudo. He was always an Olympic athlete, goes to Fight Ready, becomes a champ. You look at Patricio Pitbull, always a great athlete, goes to Fight Ready, becomes a champ. You look at Eric Anders, always a D1 athlete, goes to Fight Ready, knocks out Darren Stewart in the first round. So now they're running it back, and he didn't decide that, oh, you know what, I already knocked this guy out. Now I'm going to go do this camp in Alabama. He went back to Fight Ready in April, which, interestingly enough, Fight Ready is in Arizona where this fight is taking place. So he's actually going to build upon his last performance. He's not going to just maintain. He's going to get even better. So that's something I like to see. Whereas Darren Stewart, he's one of these guys that, it's kind of hit or miss. It's 50-50. He hits very hard. I've always thought he's a hard hitter. He's got sneaky elbows. I think his, get-up game is getting a lot better too. It's just that it seems to me like in this fight that Eric might have his number. Eric is a little bit more physical than him, and that's the first time I've ever seen Darren Stewart go down to strikes. I've never seen Darren Stewart get floored. I've seen him get subbed in the past, but he got rammed through, and I'm not sure about Darren Stewart's training situation. Like, we talk about Eric Anders training at Fight Ready, which is amazing. That takes athletes to new levels. Isn't like the UK, like someone in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, like, aren't they like on lockdown right now? Like, isn't his training situation kind of fucked? So I don't know. And then moving up to 205, this guy is definitely not a 205er. So I'm gonna go Eric Anders. The only thing is this: every fight is different, so we can't just bank on another Eric Anders first round knockout. Like, every fight's completely different. So who knows how this one's gonna go? But I'm gonna say Eric Anders gets the dub this time. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a striker's delight between Drew Dober. He's 23-10. He's taking on Brad Riddell, who's 9-1. Currently, they got Drew Dober -140. The comeback on Brad Riddell is +125. So, Shaq, I have a feeling these two are going to stand and bang until one man falls or until they're awarded that $50K fight of the night bonus. You think anyone's going to kind of throw a wrench into the plans and shoot a takedown here, or are they going to kind of, have a dick measuring contest and see who the better man is?
I know Dober ain't, so man, I'm super excited for this fight because I'm a big fan of Dober. I like Dober, man. I think he's just super positive. I just like him as a person. And then Riddell, man. I mean, he's only what 3 fights in the UFC, but I mean, shown a lot of good skills in those 3 fights. A fight of the night performance. His fight with Leko da Silva was good. The Mustafa fight was good. So I'm a fan of Brad Riddell's as well. So serious kickboxer, a good coach as well. He coaches my boy Alexander the Great. The featherweight champion. And man, I think that this is a good fight, man, because I feel like basically this is an interesting spot for Dober because I know Makachev is a grappler and that fight kind of doesn't really matchup wise doesn't really pertain here. But at the same time, it almost was kind of like a demoralizer. I'm interested to see how he comes back after that, especially against a guy like Brad Riddell who's like on the outside of the top 15 looking in. Basically how I see this fight going, man, I feel like Riddell might be like the better decision maker down the stretch, maybe slightly better IQ, but I feel like Dober would be smart to mix in a takedown or two just to give him a different look. I mean, I know Dober's known for his striking and his power, but I don't know if you want to come in here with the game plan to outstrike and out kickbox Brad Riddell. I mean, that's that might not be the smartest game plan. But I do think Dober has a speed advantage. I think he honestly has a power advantage as well too. It's just I think Riddell might have like a second win almost like in those late rounds where like he looks tired but then like he kind of just picks it up and ends up outclassing the dude severely. This is a step up for him, so I definitely understand why Dober's the favorite. I mean, Dober's been in there with Dario. She's been in there with he knocked out Alexander Hernandez. I mean, the dude's definitely accomplished more in his career. But I'm actually go with Nasrat Haqparast by knockout. I mean, dude's been there and done that. So I'm gonna go with Brad Riddell though, man. I think that Dober's gonna start strong, but I think in rounds 2 and 3, man, that Riddell's just gonna kind of be landing the counters. I think it could be kind of more of like a slow, plotty, like kickboxing fight in the middle of the cage. I'm telling you right now, Alexander Hernandez is a nice kid, but I don't know. I think Brad Riddell poses a lot more threats in the stand-up department, man. So we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be shocked if Dober knocked him out early either. I think he's got a speed advantage, power edge early on. But I want to see what happens in rounds 2 and 3 because I have seen Dober kind of get a little fatigued before at times. He does cut a lot of weight. So does Riddell. But I think it's a 50-50 fight, close to a 50-50 fight. So I'm going to take Brad Riddell by close decision.
You said it's not always the best game plan to, try to come out and stand and bang with a guy like Brad Riddell. I think the same thing can be said for Dober. It's not the best game plan to come out and stand and bang with Dober. I think it's best to take him down. This is a great fight for a lot of reasons. And I'm personally not too worried about the Islam Makhachev fight because I have seen Dober, take his L's and just come back, just bounce back. And that kind of thing is not going to happen here. And he's got such a positive attitude that it's almost like, as far as I know, I mean, only he truly knows, but as far as I know, it's almost like he does that. It's almost like that fight didn't happen. That has no grounds, no bearing in what's going to happen here with Brad Riddell. And Brad Riddell is a very good prospect, no doubt about it. He's got good striking too. It's just that, some of these fights against much lower level guys than Dober, for example, Malarkey flooring him in that third round, the Da Silva fight being 1-1 going into the third round. Now, granted, he did what he was supposed to do. Brad Riddell got those dubs, but I think this is a step up in competition. I think that Drew Dober has paid his dues inside that octagon. You said the speed advantage. I honestly think that he's the cleaner guy here too. I think that Brad Riddell, look, his arsenal, his experience, everything, it's great. I think he's kind of like the stiffer guy here, whereas I think Drew Dober's a little bit more fluid. I think he's more comfortable inside the octagon. He's had way more time in there. I'm gonna go with Drew Dober actually to get this done. This is the kind of fight that he excels in. But this is the kind of fight both guys excel in. But I think that Dober is the better guy. I think he's further along right now in his career. So for that reason, I'm gonna take Drew Dober to get this win. And man, I'm excited for this Lima and Amasov fight tomorrow. But before we talk about that, Next up in the light heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Jamahal Hill. He's 9-0. He's taking on Paul Craig, who's 14-4. Currently, they got Jamahal Hill minus 290. The comeback on Paulie Craig is plus 245. You all good over there, Shaq?
My camera thing just went out, but we're good.
Okay. Okay, there you go. Now I can see you great. Perfect. Anyways, so like I said, Jamahal Hill minus 290, Paul Craig plus 245. This is a great fight. This is the perfect next test for Jamahal Hill. Listen, I've already told you guys how I feel about Jamahal Hill many times. I'm very, very impressed. I'm very high on this prospect. This is a guy who obviously he hits hard like a light heavyweight, but he's got the output of a bantamweight. I mean, remind me the last time you saw a 205er land over 100 strikes in a 3-round fight, and everybody criticizing his ground game because of the Darko Stosic fight. I mean, look, he got taken down 6 times. How many times did he get back up? He got back up 6 times. How long was he held down for? Not long at all. So, because I think people are under the impression that Jamahal Hill is just, it's just another Rumble Johnson. It's just another Melvin Guillard where, like, on the feet, you got to be careful. But all you got to do is just take this guy down, put your arm around his neck. He's going to quick tap, and that's it. And I'm here to let you guys know that that's simply not the case. Like, this guy is the real deal. This guy is well-rounded. And look, Paul Craig, he's made a lot of improvements too, man. I mean, the Paul Craig that we used to see compared to the guy now, I mean, he's still the same guy, but man, is takedown entries are getting better. Some of those kicks he's throwing now, they're not, against Alonzo Menafield, he was just spamming spin kicks. He got knocked out. But now, against Shogun Hua, I see some of those kicks going upstairs, like traditional Muay Thai kicks. His takedowns are getting better. His series on the ground. He's a very dangerous guy. He's paid his dues. I got a lot of respect for Paul Craig, no doubt about it. He's very prideful Scot. And I actually love Scotland. I went there as a kid long ass time ago, and I'll always have good memories there. So shout out to our Scottish fans. But look, man, I think that Paul Craig's in over his head here, man. I think that the difference on the feet and output and technique. And not only that, because usually if you take someone now and they get back up, well, maybe then they start to get a little tired. Maybe then the output starts to wane. That's just not the case. You take Jamahal down, he pops right back. All of a sudden, the jabs, the straight lefts, the arsenal of kicks, everything, man. He's got the full package. I think this guy, the way people regard Ankalaev, the way people regard Rakic, even the way people used to regard Dominic Reyes, that's how I regard Jamahal Hill. So I think Saturday night, he's going to make a big statement. I think he's going to knock out Paul Craig, and I think we're going to be looking at a new contender in the light heavyweight division. So, yeah, I'm sticking with Jamahal Hill here, and I think he's a very underestimated guy. I know now the times are finally catching up, but, dude, I remember getting pick'em on Jamahal Hill against Klitzen Abreu. You know what I mean? I remember getting under 2-1 against OSP, and he ran through these guys like it was nothing. And also, Darko Stosic, y'all better not shit on Darko, because look what he's been doing outside the UFC. Darko's been killing some dudes. He's been launching people. And honestly, Darko kind of got the short end of the stick in the UFC, because that Kennedy fight, he won 2 rounds of that Kennedy fight. He just got deducted 2 points. So he ends up losing a controversial decision. And then, you lose three in a row, you get cut. But the reality is Darko actually won that fight in terms of rounds. So just keep that in mind. But all that being said, I got Jamahal Hill here via domination.
Yeah, I got Jamahal Hill here, man. I think Craig's definitely gotten better. I still see some holes, man. Especially when he's backing up, like when his opponents are pressuring him. And I think he's gotten better, but I still don't know if it's enough to say that this guy, what is he, number 15 now? Like, I applaud Paul Craig for how far he's come, man. Because at one point I didn't see him. I don't think many people saw him getting to this point. I mean, the fact that he somehow managed to beat Ankalaev and Kennedy, man, props to him. I think his last fight was look, how old is Shogun? Like, I don't know, he's not 40, but I mean, in fight years, he's 40.
5 years, he's 80.
In fight years, dude's super old, and the way that first fight went, I mean, I know it made sense that Paul Craig was gonna dominate that rematch. And I mean, that's exactly what he did, man. Shogun's on the tail end of his career. Jamahal Hill, one thing I feel like what's different about him than maybe some of the other 205 prospects I've been on is just more of like a legit like fundamental style to fall back on if we can't knock him out, like Johnny Walker and all these other guys. Like they had the flash and those super spectacular, but like dude's got a simple 1-2 game down the middle. He's gonna keep throwing that 1-2 down the middle. He's got the teeps, the left high kicks. Yeah, maybe we haven't necessarily seen him on the floor, but just my vibe from him, man, is I mean, if that's what Paul Craig is banking on, then I guess that's what he has to bank on. Sure, Paul Craig is better at jujitsu, but I think that Paul Craig still has some more work to put in. Not saying that he's unproven, but I need to see more than just a victory over an aging competitor in Shogun Hua, or get Stunt Tigulov, or Mamouche Richards, the dude that Eric Anders knocked out. You know what I'm talking about, the Brazilian guy that beat
Mamuchi.
Sean Alon. Yeah, Mamouche. Like I think those are good wins and all, but like I still need to see more. I will give him props for the Ankaleev and Kennedy ones. I mean, but we do know that he was pretty much losing like that entire fight until he pulled those arm bars off. And Jamal's got to mind his P's and Q's. I mean, he can't. You don't want that because I mean, those guys. I mean, we know that if they fought Paul Craig again, it would probably go a different story. And you only got one time to fight him. So Paul Craig is a guy that people make a lot of fatal mistakes against. But yeah, man, I got Jamal Hill. I just think the stand up advantage is too wide here. Paul Craig, he tilts his chin up in the air when he gets pressured, and if he does that here, there's a good chance he gets knocked out. So I'm going with Jamal Hill here. He just been passing these tests, man. I know his last two opponents missed weight, but I mean, dude, he ran through him like it was nothing. So I'm going with Jamal Hill.
Hey, real quick before we move on to the next fight, your volume's a little bit lower since that camera issue happened. Is there a knob you can turn up or maybe move that mic closer to you? I mean, I heard you fine, but it was a little bit like lower than it was throughout the rest of the show. So talk to me really quickly. Let me hear you real quick.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Awesome. All right. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Damian Maia. He's 28-10. He's taking on Belal. Remember the name Muhammad, who's 18-3. Currently, they got Belal Muhammad minus 220. The comeback on Damian Maia is plus 185. Damian Maia, future Hall of Famer, legend of the sport, someone I got so much respect for. Has had submissions in 2 different weight classes, arguably one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the history of the UFC. And I mean, he's 43 years old and he's still killing it, man. So he's still in the top 10 at 43 years old. So what a badass. Nothing but respect for Damian Maia. And Belal Muhammad's come a long way. I mean, I've known about Muhammad since before he was in the UFC. Remember when he fought Steve Carl in Titan FC, the kind of pace he put on him? I took note of him right away, and he's been a stud in the UFC, man. He's really been doing his thing. And you start to slow down, you start to gas out on a guy like Belal Muhammad, and he will tee off on you. And one thing, my boy Maia, if you got to criticize something, it is that gas tank. And listen, I think that just breaking this fight down, first round, look, worst case scenario, Damian Maia takes his back first round, but Belal is a very highly intelligent individual, and he's aware of the fact that if he gets his back taken in the first round, he's not going to just squirm around like a fish and just, give Maia an opportunity to choke him out. I think it's going to be a case where if Maia gets his back in that first round, that, Belal Muhammad will actually accept losing the first round. Hey, you got me in this spot, you take the first round. But come second and third round, we're taking you to a little place called Deep Waters, that same spot that Rory McDonald took him to. And I know people are saying, oh, just because Gilbert Burns knocked him out, this and that doesn't mean, guys, is not just Gilbert Burns. Damian Maia's lost 10 times. 10 people have figured out the blueprint on how to beat this guy. But again, I got all the respect in the world for Damian Maia. Look, I don't often speak in absolutes. I've only spoken in absolutes twice. I'm about to do it thrice. Look, the times I've spoken in absolutes, I said no guy named Muhammad is losing a judge's decision in Abu Dhabi. And he ends up finishing Sada. We didn't have to go there. I said no guy named Muslim is losing a judge's decision in Abu Dhabi. You saw Salikov win that decision over Zaleski. Now I'm about to speak in absolutes again. No 43-year-old is beating Bilal Muhammad in a fight. Period. I got Bilal Muhammad to get the biggest win of his career here, enter the top 10, and we'll see what happens next. But Saturday night will be Bilal Muhammad's night, and I hope that the legend Damian Maia comes back. And, man, I wanted to see him retire against Diego Sanchez. I wanted to see him get the Cowboy Cerrone fight, go out on a win or something. He's not going out on a win Saturday night. So I got Bilal Muhammad for the win. And when this hits deep waters, you will see Damian Maia flop to his back. You will see him shoot from a mile away. And then you'll see Bilal Muhammad put that pace on him. And I look forward to it. Bilal Muhammad for the win.
Yeah. I think honestly, out of all the like -2 something favorites, I honestly think that Muhammad might be the most sure thing. Honestly, man. I think that, Maya's a legend. We all know that, but I think the blueprint is out there, man. I think when you see one guy do it, two guys do it, three guys do it, four guys do it, I think that the Bilal Muhammad should feel really confident. Now, do we know that? I don't. What is his jiu-jitsu? Brown, black? Is he
Brown.
black? Brown.
Brown.
But I know he trained with my boy, what's his name, Coach Daniel from Rufus Sport for a while.
Daniel Wanderlei. Former Rufus Sport. They had a falling out.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. But like that dude's a serious jiu-jitsu coach. I mean, he had Mershart, Manny Sanchez, Brandon Allen for a while. Like all them dudes have good jiu-jitsu. So I'm assuming Bilal Muhammad is no different. I don't know who he's training with. I know he left Rufus Sport, right? Who's he training with, Bilal? In Chicago?
With Lewis Taylor and Valley Flow Striking.
Yeah. So yeah, I just where I just see this being a terrible matchup for Maya is just the pace. I just think that Bilal Muhammad pushes a serious pace, and maybe nothing is necessarily like one shot powerful or overwhelming or anything. It's just that the dude is just gonna pepper you, and I feel like honestly, this fight could be like the Covington fight, but just more striking. As in, second and third round, Maya is gonna be exhausted. Like Bilal Muhammad, he might not be strong or necessarily like a spectacular finisher or anything like that, but the dude just has a consistent, steady pace. I mean, I know he was a lawyer, right? He fights like a lawyer,
Well, his parents wanted him to be a lawyer, but he chose to be a fighter.
Yeah, but the dude, dude fights very smartly. He's very efficient. I mean, he makes very good decisions. Despite getting dropped here and there a couple times, but it's not like he has to worry about that here in this fight. Yeah, I see this being kind of smooth sailing for him, man. I think if Damian can't get him down and submit him that first time, I mean, I think Damian might be fucked here. Like, I just think Bilal Muhammad. Like, did you see that fight against my hometown boy Diego? I mean, I know it's Diego, but holy man, the type of, he wasn't taking no rest. My boy Diego was like, bro, can we just get just a little rest? Like, can we clinch for a little bit? You know what I'm saying? He was just over. Same thing with my boy Lyman too. Like Lyman cracked him, but I think the reason why Bilal won that fight is just activity, man. I just think he's gonna outwork Damian Maia by a significant margin on Saturday night. And I'll say by 30-26, maybe a 29-27 on one card, something like that. I think the towards the end, we've seen so many times where, if Damian can't get those takedowns, he'll will. And I think that Bilal Muhammad's kind of proven himself enough. He's got a large sample size, maybe not the best name value on his wins, but he's fought a lot of decent guys where we can say, okay, he's separated himself from that top 20 25 type level. I think he solidified himself as a top 15 guy, so he's my pick to win here.
Next up, in the welterweight division, we got the featured bout between Leon Rocky Edwards. He's 18-3. He's taking on the man, Nate Diaz, who's 20-12. Currently, they got Leon Edwards minus 600. The comeback on Nate Diaz is plus 450. Now, real quick, got to let everybody know this is a 5-round fight between Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards. Not a 3-round fight. It's a 5-round fight. You know, my boy Nate can call shots like that. Listen, I'm a huge Diaz brothers fan, but I mean, I'm also been watching the sport a long ass time. But you know, when you talk about the Diaz brothers and you talk about the wins that they got, I mean, they got wins over Conor McGregor, they got wins over Robbie Lawler, BJ Penn, Cowboy Cerrone. The list goes on and on. So, and man, Nate Diaz is a guy that gets counted out a lot. When he fought Cowboy Cerrone, and for some of y'all noobs, don't talk about Cowboy Cerrone now with the 5-fight skid. I'm talking about back on the co-main event of Brock Lesnar versus Overeem. Nate Diaz was a big underdog to Cerrone. He surprised a lot of people. When Nate Diaz fought Jim Miller, he was a plus 220 underdog. He surprised a lot of people. When he fought Michael Johnson, he was a huge underdog. He surprised a lot of people. When he fought Conor McGregor, he was a huge underdog. He surprised a lot of people. So even when he came back against Anthony Pettis. So Nate Diaz is a guy that when you count him out, he does his best work. He's a tall, awkward guy. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, the punches come from weird angles, and obviously his jiu-jitsu's on point. The only thing with Diaz is that he plays by his own rules, you know, like he's not going to come out here trying to stuff takedowns. He'll be on his back. He'll start slapping you, and then he'll act like he won the fight. You know, he's an interesting, unique individual. He plays by his own rules. My only concern here, obviously, is in terms of a finish happening, is that Diaz does cut very easily. And Leon's very sharp with those elbows, man, like especially in that Rafael Dos Anjos fight and that Cowboy Cerrone fight. So I'm kind of worried about, you know, 5 rounds about this being some kind of cut stoppage. Because one thing about, you said what, brother?
Said the Masvidal fight.
Yeah, the Masvidal fight. Man, I watched that fight the other day. What an entertaining fight. Like, I'd love to see 2 more rounds. That, not saying Diaz would have won or anything. Just I was so entertained when I watched that fight the other day. I was like, damn, this is exciting. But yeah, he cuts very easily, doesn't try to stuff takedowns, just fights his own way, man. But here's the thing. One thing I respect about Leon, he doesn't really take any unnecessary risks, and that's maybe why he's, you know, kind of considered a boring fighter, but he's very technical. He's very surgical with his strikes. Doesn't do anything he doesn't need to do. He's good everywhere the fight goes. He's beat some legitimate competition. If he can keep his focus on, he should be able to kind of cruise to a decision win, maybe a cut stoppage win. It's just that if he, you know, starts to get a little cocky, if, you know, the fans start to get to him that, hey, you're not the most exciting guy. He wants to come out here and brawl with Diaz. He wants to come out here, fight uncharacteristic. He starts gassing out. You know, Diaz is a triathlete. Those are the spots where, you know, Diaz could get an upset. But aside from that, and I love the Diaz brothers, I just have to go with the favorite here. I just personally wouldn't lay minus 600 on Leon Edwards in this spot. I would personally just stay away because, you know, I don't think Nate's going to win, but plus 450 on Nate, you never know. But I'm going to go with Leon to just kind of win a decision here.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple here, man. Leon, yeah, dude's solid. I mean, dude's as well rounded as it get. Good straight left, good boxing, good kicks, good. I mean, his wrestling game since the Usman fight really took off. He's hitting multiple takedowns per fight. Look at some of these wins: Luke, Tumenov, Dos Anjos. I mean, dude's definitely been Cerrone. Dude's definitely been putting in his work. Like you said, he doesn't really take any unnecessary risk. Yeah, man. Diaz, since he's been back, I do think he's took a step down, even in the Pettis fight. Like Pettis, look, I like Anthony's. I don't think, you know, maybe not because I'm a ruffle feathers when I say that. But I think that
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Shut the fuck up. Yes, he is.
I mean, he's not. I bet you he won't end up in there. But anyways, I think that yeah, like there was a good like Anthony Pettis. I mean, the blueprint has been out there to beat him. I mean, I know my boy Eddie Alvarez famously said a few years back, you know, said if you haven't figured out how to beat Anthony Pettis, I mean, I don't know, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, man, I just think the takedowns are going to be there all night. He just needs to manage his cardio. That's where people mess up on Diaz. You know, they tee off on him early. I mean, 10-8 rounds early, and then by the middle rounds, they're out of gas, and he still has some. Like you said, he is a triathlete, but I really don't see anywhere he can like win this fight. Unless Leon beats himself by gassing himself out. I think Leon's probably gonna do his thing here, man. That the extra 2 rounds kind of have me a little concerned, just because I haven't seen Leon go 5 rounds in a while. But this last time he did go 5 rounds against Dos Anjos, he definitely did his thing. He definitely did his thing there. So yeah, I think this is pretty cut and dry. I think that Diaz. I don't know how he's gonna win this fight unless, like I said, unless Leon gets tired. I mean, he's at a severe disadvantage here. You look at that Pettis fight. I thought it was a very sloppy, from a technical standpoint, even for his standards. Like I've seen him look a lot better technically speaking. I just think he was tougher. And Pettis, I mean, I know you remember some of that talking Pettis was doing before that fight. I think he just Diaz got in his head. And then you got and then this last fight with Masvidal. Going into it, I thought it would be an easy fight for Masvidal, and I mean that's kind of how it played. And the reason why I feel like Leon might honestly beat him by a larger margin is I like Masvidal, but he's not a top 5 guy in my opinion. Like I know he knocked out Askren, and who else did he beat?
Till
and all those guys, but like Till's won like one fight in his last like 2 fights in his last however many. And I mean, George kind of looked really real slobbish in that fight, and still kind of dominated him for the most part, man. So I'm going with Leon Edwards. I'm gonna actually say he stops him. I'm gonna actually say Leon comes out here and probably does get the cut stoppage. Those Diaz brothers, we know they have an absurd amount of scar tissue in them, up in that forehead area, in that eyebrow area. And I mean, like you said, his last fight got stopped. Multiple fights in the past have gotten stopped. So I'm gonna go with Leon by 4th round TKO.
Co-main event of the evening for the flyweight belt. We got the champ, Deiveson Figueiredo. He's 21-1. He's taking on Brandon, the assassin baby Moreno, who's 18-5-2. Currently, they got Deiveson Figueiredo -210. The comeback on Brandon Moreno is +175. So these guys fought before. It was a draw, a controversial draw in my eyes. I mean, I thought that, this whole fucking narrative about, Deiveson, he's first round or bust. Oh, really? So what happened when him and Pantoja fought and all 3 judges scored at 30-27? What happened in this Moreno fight when it was the 5th round, time to dig deep? Who dug deep? The champion dug deep. So, this whole, he's first round or bust. Oh, really? Then why did he win the 5th round of his last fight? So, yeah, this whole first round or bust thing is one of the biggest myths I've ever heard. People need to give Deiveson Figueiredo his due respect. And listen, Brandon Moreno is a tough Mexican warrior. I got a lot of respect for him. I cashed a ticket on Moreno against Dustin Ortiz back in the day, right? He finished him. So I got nothing but respect for him. I just think that right now is Deiveson Figueiredo's time. The only thing I'm worried about is that these weight cuts for Deiveson, they're going to add up. He's massive for flyweight. At some point, Davison's going to have to go to bantamweight, and I think he'll have a great career there. It's just about when is that going to happen, man, because these fucking weight cuts are just, they're hellacious, man. And I know he's already struggling. If y'all saw that embedded, the workouts he's doing in his hotel, my boy Davison's already struggling. So
Deiveson hasn't eaten food in weeks, bro.
Exactly. Like, because I mean, you remember when he missed weight for that one fight, that Brazilian barbecue he had, he was eating the meat off the bone and shit. Like, so yeah. But anyways,
for the first Benavidez fight, yeah.
Yeah. So as far as this fight is concerned, I mean, I think it's a similar situation. I think that Davison's got more firepower. I think he's more well-rounded. I think people sleep on his jiu-jitsu, which is unbelievable. And I think he's going to hurt Brandon Moreno. It's just about, if he doesn't get Brandon out of there, because Brandon is super durable, that you're going to have to deal with a Mexican warrior that's going to be in your face, that's going to be fighting hard, that's going to try to push a pace on you. But the firepower that Deiveson brings to the table is just different for flyweight standards. And also, I know I keep bringing this up. Do not sleep on his jiu-jitsu. Like, do not be surprised if Deiveson submits Brandon Moreno in this fight. Brandon's been submitted before against Pantoja. I know you remember that. So, yeah. But I could see the knockout too. I thought he knocked him down in that last fight. He never got accredited for a knockdown, but I thought he knocked him down in that fight. And now I'm hearing that there was a whole bunch of shit going on with, with Dave 2 weeks as he fought Alex Perez 2 weeks prior. I didn't even factor all that when I was watching the fight. Like when I was watching the fight, I was just seeing a champion defend his belt. I was like, oh yeah, Deiveson won that fight. Then they scored a draw. I was like, what? So listen, every fight's different, right? Sometimes they go the 5-round distance. The next time it ends inside the distance. I think this time it will end inside the distance. And I think, and still, Dice Dugea Figueiredo, the flyweight champion of the world. I think Deiveson's going to defend that belt. Again, my only concern is when will these weight cuts start to really take a toll on him, because he will have to end his career at bantamweight, maybe even featherweight down the line, Shaq. But right now, I think he's got his shit under control. I think he's focused. I think he's ready. I'm going to go Deiveson Figueiredo to defend the belt.
Yeah, that was my big worry, going into the Moreno fight, was because I know my boy cuts, big, large amounts of weight, and doing that twice in a span of a couple of weeks, man, it is for him could be very deadly. I heard he was in the hospital after the weight cut against Moreno the first time, so we do know there were some factors going against him. As far as how the fight went, Moreno got a lot of takedowns. Deiveson, I honestly felt like Deiveson didn't respect him enough, man. Especially like he just came out and I think he won the first round if I'm not mistaken, but I think in that second or third round, like I just felt like Deiveson had fought him with his hands down the entire time. Like didn't really try to slip any shots. I truly think that Deiveson, after that Perez fight, that he just kind of thought, I'm gonna run over this guy here as well, and we know Moreno is a tough guy, man. I'm surprised he did not get floored in that fight, man. He ate them shots. Like I give him a lot of respect. So look, I'm acknowledging the fact that Deiveson, this might not be one of his typical vicious KOs. I mean, he might have to beat Brandon Moreno up for 5 rounds because this kid just, he's very tough. He's not going to give up, man. Yeah, I think that honestly, a lot of Moreno's success just came off of mistakes that Deiveson made, and I feel like that was honestly one of the more sloppier performances of Deiveson's career, and he still won. Like I felt like Deiveson's heart was shown in that fight. Like what was the real bad round that he had, or he got rocked? Was it the third or the fourth?
Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah, one of those, and Moreno clearly won the round, and the fact that he like willed himself back together to win the fifth round just shows that there is something there to this guy, man. He does have that championship heart, that championship spirit. Now Moreno completely, it was kind of weird. I don't know if he had an injury, but it was almost like he stopped fighting in the fifth round. I know they said there was something going on with his forearm in that fifth round. So maybe that was why. So we'll see, man. I wouldn't be shocked if this is another dog fight, man, back and forth. I just see this time Deiveson, with that full camp to prepare. From the looks of it, man, take a look at his IG. They up the strength and conditioning up to a whole new ball game for this fight. And they don't like a lot of the things that Brandon Moreno's been saying. Brandon Moreno, after the fight, he kind of got excited and he kind of started saying some things. And, when you go to draw with Figueiredo, hey, I get it. I get excited too, But Brandon, he was saying some things, while he didn't like saying that, how could Deiveson beat Henry Cejudo when he couldn't even beat me, things like that. And Deiveson, he didn't like those. So, we'll see what happens on Saturday night. I think that Deiveson probably knocks him out. But if he has to go to decision, I think that the heart and this whole gas out thing is kind of reminds me of something like with Vettori a little bit too. Like he's such a gasser, but he's winning these fifth rounds. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But I'm gonna go with Deiveson Figueiredo from a betting perspective. The line is what was the last time the line was like what -3 something?
It opened exactly the same for both fights, -275.
Yeah. So last time Deiveson got steamed. This time, people are playing Moreno here. I'm curious to see if Moreno can perform like that again. I respect him. Definitely come a long way, but I'm gonna go with and still Figueiredo.
Yes, sir. So before we talk about the main event, everybody watching, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Truly appreciate it. Main event of the evening, we got another rematch. We got the champ, Israel Adesanya, the last style bender. He's 20-1. He's taking on Marvin, the Italian Dream Vettori, who's 17-3-1. How badass is it that Marvin got this Dolce Gabbana sponsorship? So that's cool that Italy is getting behind him. Currently, they got Israel Adesanya minus 260. The comeback on Marvin Vettori is plus 220. So, man, first fight was great. I thought that Izzy clearly won the first 2 rounds. I thought Marvin clearly won the third. Here's the big trend that I've been noticing, my man, in these Izzy fights in the third round, especially against, some tougher competition. It's like people are sitting here saying, oh, Izzy has no ground game. Oh, really? If Izzy had no ground game, then how come Jan Blachowicz didn't pass his guard and pound him out? If Izzy has no ground game, how come Jan Blachowicz didn't pass his guard and submit him, right? So this whole no ground game shit is just, that's total bullshit. What he's lacking is his get-up game isn't quite the best. It's not like dudes are passing his guard or destroying him on the mat. They're just kind of holding him down. That's what I'm worried about here, because Marvin Vettori, he's got damn good top control. He's a very strong individual. And the other thing he's got going for him that we've always talked about is his iron jaw. He's got that blockhead, as Israel Adesanya likes to say. You hit this guy with your cleanest shots, and he just looks at you and smiles and keeps walking forward. So it's one of those things where I do think that Izzy's the more skilled fighter, but Shaq, we talk about this often, and I know some people believe in this, some people don't believe in this, but destiny. Sometimes fighters won't be denied their night to be champion, whether it's Michael Bisping against Luke Rockhold, whether it's Jan Blachowicz when he won the belt against Dominic Reyes, Dustin Poirier in Atlanta against Max Holloway. Like, there's just, when you've been paying your dues for so goddamn long, there just comes a night where all the stars align and you're not going to be denied. So my question is this going to be that night for Marvin Vettori to realize a dream?
Man, I've been a big fan of Marvin Vettori for a while, man. Like, I think this kid has gone so under the radar. Like, for a while, I feel like his name really wasn't mentioned in like the series contender talks. And I know he really had the competition. Like, he only beat Jack Hermanson and Holland and stuff like that. So I get the reluctancy on him here. I understand that, but just knowing the type of like competitor that he is, the type of athlete, like, I don't know if you've been watching the Embedded, but did you see his doctor, that guy, my boy Dr. Mateo? We actually follow each other now. He's actually got Lauren Murphy on this card here as well. But like, Marvin is basically like one of those athletes that he's taken very well care of. Like, this guy is a machine. They're I mean, just look at him, dude. Just look how big he is, 185. And I feel like the cardio thing is getting better, man. Like, I saw a guy I don't think he's getting enough credit for that win against Jack. Now, I know Jack doesn't really have hands and is more of a grappler here, different style matchup, but I think that, cardio wise, like, it finally showed that Marvin Vettori has the ability to push through fatigue and win those championship rounds. Now look, Adesanya is a different ball game, but I kind of feel like Adesanya, look, he should be the favorite here. He's the champ. He's the one that's had the better performances against Rob Whittaker, Gastelum, Paulo Costa, but I think the line's too wide on this one, just due to the fact that Adesanya, we look at that Gastelum fight, and I mean, yeah, I thought he won clearly. I mean, we know how that fight got down the stretch, but I still see openings, especially him moving back. When he moves back, he backs up with that chin sky high in the air, and I think that his striking has a lot more holes than people realize. Now, he did a good job against Blachowicz, but I honestly think Blachowicz beat him in an inside the pocket game as well. Israel definitely did his thing there. But we saw, what happened when he mixed it up and shot the takedowns. I agree with your take. Yeah, he's got a ground game. It's just these guys are better than him at grappling. It's just, plain and simple. Vettori's better than him at grappling, and so is Jan Blachowicz. Like, but Vettori is a serious underrated black belt, man. But yeah, Adesanya, he's got their range, and I guess they're gonna play the Adesanya side is gonna play the, we'll let Marvin win the first round, maybe even 2, and rounds 3, 4, and 5 will take over like we did the rounds 3, 4, and 5 will take over. But I mean, let's not forget in that first fight, it was actually Vettori that won the last round. It was, and Adesanya, look at his last two fights. He got completely. His last fight he got dominated in the championship round. So I'm not as convinced that he's gonna have this cardio edge like that. A lot of people think that he's gonna have in this fight on Saturday night. Now, will he snipe Vittori's head off at distance? There's a good chance Marvin, his head doesn't move that much. It's hard to move a big, gigantic head like that. That's why they call him. That's why they call him Blockhead. So look, if Izzy comes out here and just snipes him, hey, that's understandable. But I think the line's too wide. Marvin Vettori, has he lost a round since he's been back from USADA suspension? Marvin Vettori is out here rolling through these guys, and he's showing all of his skills, man. Like I felt this way about the last fight, but I didn't have the the balls to say Blachowicz was going to win. But, man, I'm going to take Marvin Vettori to become the new middleweight champion on Saturday night. I just think he's going to outwork Adesanya, be on him, like, dirty in the clinch. Not necessarily, like, outstriking him or anything, but I think Marvin can land his shots too. He landed shots in that first fight, while they were boxing. I think his boxing has come a much longer way. And it's more of those things where I just think that he wants it more. I'm not saying that Adesanya has a motivation issue or, or anything like along those lines. I just think that Marvin, man, is super, super determined right now. And I just like the way he's performing round by round. Like, I think he's lost like one round since he's been one out of the last 17 rounds. So yeah, man, I'm going with Marvin Vettori to become the new champion just by mixing it up, outworking Adesanya, and I do think that cardio holds up. I just think the price is too wide. I'd set it like minus 175 Adesanya, maybe like something like that. Like the Paulo Costa fight was definitely a great performance. Like he did his thing, but
Marvin ain't getting drunk on Friday night.
Like I don't know what to make. Like it's not that I couldn't take it seriously, but during that fight, I was just like, what the hell is he doing? Like he's putting his hands behind his back a minute in. He's like doing this thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So Adesanya is just completely in his head, huh? So look, as long as Adesanya is not getting completely mind fucked here by Adesanya, I think it's going to be a close fight down the stretch, man. So we'll see.
Yeah, interestingly enough, like I told you all at the beginning of the show, the first time they fought was in this exact arena in Glendale, Arizona. So it's interesting how they come full circle and now they do it for a belt. So I think Shaq brought up a lot of valid points. Like you hear all of Vettori's interviews, and for a guy that was criticized for being such a meathead and this and that, like sounds like his head's on straight for this one. Sounds like he's focused, determined. Sounds like he's ready to be a champ. With Izzy, it's just that Izzy is a very unique and special individual, man. You've seen obviously the striking arsenal he brings to the table. I think that like I saw that triangle attempt he had on Kelvin Gastelum. I don't think his ground game is bad at all. I'm just worried about him getting held down. And also the backing up with his chin in the air thing. That's very true. But on the Marvin side, he does eat a lot of clean shots, and his chin is fantastic. It's just how long can he eat all those clean shots where at some point it's going to go. And there was one moment in the Kevin Holland fight where Kevin actually might have rocked him a little bit. I believe it was round 4. It's just that, Kevin can't stuff a takedown to save his life. Izzy's got a little bit better takedown defense than that. But I agree that the line is kind of wide, especially the first fight was a split decision. And now we've seen a little bit of more of the holes in Izzy's game exposed. So I do think the line should be a little closer. And again, like I said, with this whole destiny talk, like, Charles Oliveira wasn't going to be denied for all his hard work. Jan Blachowicz wasn't going to be denied. Michael Bisping, like all these guys, one day they get to that point where, all their hard work pays off. Could this be that moment for Marvin Vettori? That's what I'm so intrigued about, because I do think he's paid his dues. And people saying, oh, he's just coming off a win over Kevin Holland. Guys, he's already been in there with Izzy Adesanya 15 minutes. So this isn't like some, new experience for him. They're just both a lot better than they were the first time. I'm going to still go with Izzy Adesanya to defend his belt here, but again, if this is truly Marvin Vettori's time, I can accept it, because I've seen this kind of situation play out so many times over the years where someone that pays their dues gets rewarded for their hard work. And that's simply it, man. But I think Izzy's just a little bit more skilled than him. So I'm going to take him to edge a close decision. And still, but let's see, man. Maybe by the way I'm talking, maybe it's a dog or pass situation. But my pick is going to be Izzy Adesanya. Now, Shaq, before we talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch, everybody do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Now, Shaq, what is the fight to watch for UFC 263?
My fight to watch, man, is gonna be, the Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell fight, man. I mean, look, I love me some Drew Dober. I mean, this guy, in terms of excitement, he's up there with anybody, in my opinion, in terms of like body of work, exciting fights. I mean, Dober comes. I mean, it's not too many oftentimes I've seen Dober looking to wrestle. You know what I'm saying? Besides like one fight, I think, but. Other than that, man, this dude comes to bang. Brad Riddell, we know his reputation as a kickboxer. I wouldn't be shocked if these two won fight of the night. They both have fight of the nights in their history. So yeah, I see one of them possibly getting knocked out. One of them, moving on to bigger and better things at lightweight. So that's my fight to watch.
Yeah, for me, look, my fight to watch is it's a tough one to pick, but my fight to watch is that co-main event between Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. The first fight was a fight of the night, and it was a draw, controversial draw. But I think that this time we might have a more definitive statement. And I know we got a hungry challenger. I know we got a hungry champion. I know these two don't like each other. And man, that's my fight to watch. Shaq, who is your fighter to watch for UFC 263?
My fighter to watch is going to be my boy from the mitten, man. My boy Jamahal Hill. Look, Paul Craig is a win you need at two. A lot of guys have failed this test against Paul Craig. Guys like Magomed Ankalaev, even he. I'll never get over that loss. Like, I'll never understand why he tapped. But I think Jamahal Hill's the guy to watch because 205. I mean, since John went up to heavyweight, I mean, 205 is honestly, gaining steam, for a while there. I'd say over the last decade, 205 was kind of like one of the weaker divisions in the UFC, at least one of the less competitive divisions in terms of challengers and champions just due to John Jones' dominance. But now that he's out the picture, man, it's like it's wide open. We got my favorite 205 champ of all time, Jan Blachowicz, and we got all these contenders, man. And I feel like Jamahal Hill with an impressive win will enter his name, right up there with those guys like Lionheart and Ankalaev and who else is up there at 205? The Ratchiks, my boy Yuri. I love me some Yuri. Or maybe Jamahal Hill can fight Dominic Reyes after that. I know Dominic Reyes wants to get back in there. I mean, so I'm looking forward to Jamahal Hill's performance on Saturday.
You already know I'm looking forward to Jamahal Hill's performance as well. My fighter watches Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. This is a massive opportunity. Damian Maia is a legend of the sport, a future Hall of Famer in my book. And you get a win over a guy like that. I mean, only the elite beat Damian Maia. So you beat Damian Maia, you enter the top 10 of the welterweight division, and he further elevates his name. I mean, Bilal Muhammad, he's really been doing the right things as far as in the cage and outside the cage. He's really growing his stock. I've seen him on the ESPN desk now. Like, I'm really happy about what he's been doing, how he's been approaching the game, and how he stays true to himself, man. So listen, my two fighters to watch are Bilal and Jamahal. This is all about Bilal and Jamahal. So those are my fighters to watch. Well, Shaq, we did it. It's going down this Saturday night in Glendale, Arizona, UFC 263, 2 title fights, the return of Nate Diaz. You got Bilal and Jamahal. Hell of a card. Cannot wait. Thank you to all our fans for checking this out. Make sure y'all hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We truly appreciate it. Make sure you follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. Go to bestfightpicks.com. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. Shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. Make sure y'all use that promo code BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Thank you again to all our fans, our supporters. We truly, truly appreciate it. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.